But today, wives, I want to talk to you about submission brings recovery. Submission brings recovery. And I'm coming from out of 1 Samuel 25. I'm not going to read it, but that is the Bible verse that I got my message from. And I was reminded of the story of Abigail and how she gracefully surrendered to David on behalf of her foolish husband, Nabal. Her husband, Nabal, was a wicked man. He was a wicked man. And because of his foolery, he was about to get their entire house killed. But Abigail, she came through and pulled through, and she stood up as a wife. Now, the Bible reminds us in Ephesians 5:22 and 23 that the wives are supposed to submit to their own husbands because in the story, it shows how, in a sense, she kind of submitted, not necessarily submitted to David, but she surrendered, I would say. She surrendered to David. The Bible does tell us to submit to our own husbands, but Nabal was not in position. He was not in position. And so one of the things I grabbed from out of that was submitting to your own husband teaches you how to submit to society and other things in life. Submitting to your own husband teaches you how to submit to other things in life, even things on the outside. And so David and his crew was basically coming to tear down their entire household. And listen, let me give you the tea, honey. What do you think would have happened if Abigail would have responded like her husband? What do you think would have happened to Abigail household if she would have responded like her husband? Her husband was a wicked man. And when David, sent his messengers to go and, talk to them and say, look, I'm just trying to see if, we've been so kind. We've been out here watching your flock. We've been out here watching your sheep. We make sure that nobody was coming for your house. And if you could just, send us, some food, send us something that, just to show your appreciation for us being out here. And Nabal went off. Nabal was like, who do you think you are? Why should I give my prosperity to you and share my goods with you? And I don't even know who you are. Who do you think you are? I'm not going to share my things with you. And David was coming for them. And so I want to just share with wives. And wives to be how you can recover, in this season. I want to share with you how you can recover. And I want to share a few things that stood out to me about Abigail, a few points that stood out by her. So the first thing was Abigail was wise. As soon as she got the message, as soon as her messenger came to her with the message that, look, your crazy husband done send David into He heated, and he finna come and he finna kill all of us. You better do something, girl. You better do something. And Abigail was wise. She didn't go and, try to tell her husband, why you did this or why you been this way or why you said these things. She didn't do any of that. She positioned herself and she came up with, she went the wise way. She went straight into wife mode. And went to start preparing things and doing things. The next thing was Abigail was wealthy. She was wealthy because she was married to the food that she was married to. She was wealthy. And by her being wealthy, she was able to make some moves. She was able to, call some shots. She was able to say, you can do this, you can do that, move some things over here, get that done over here, do that things. Sometimes being wealthy has plays a major role in us recovering, and not necessarily just wealthy with money. You can be wealthy in your attitude. You can be wealthy in your stance. You can be wealthy in your demeanor. You can be wealthy in different ways. But she was a wealthy woman. And so that was one of the things that stood out to me. The next thing that stood out to me about her is when she went to go and meet David. And like I said, you have to go back and read the whole story, Samuel 25. Read the whole story yourself. It's an awesome story. When she went to go meet David, she was very welcoming. She didn't come with an attitude. She didn't come shaking her head. She didn't come with the, girl, let me tell you this. You don't who you think you are. You don't know who my husband is. She didn't do all that. She was very welcoming. She was very welcoming when she came up before David, because she knew the stories of David. She knew what was going to happen if David would have got to her husband, into their household. So that was one of the things that stood out about Abigail. She was welcoming. Abigail was a warrior. She was a warrior. She went straight into not just wife mode, but she went into warrior mode. She had a strategy. She had a plan. She had her workers in place. She had her people in place. She had, you go ahead and start. You go ahead and meet me. I go ahead and come after you. You go ahead and start. I'll meet you on the way. She had a strategy together. She had a strategy and a plan together. And I think that's so important for us as wives, to make sure that we have a warrior strategy in this season of recovery. We have a warrior strategy. And I want to just kind of, write on this for a little bit. We need to have a warrior strategy in this season of recovery. And the reason we want to have a warrior strategy in this season is because we don't know how and which way the enemy is coming. We don't know how and which way the enemy is coming. And so we want to be prepared at all times. Oh, just in case this happened, let me be prepared over here. Oh, just in case this happened, let me be prepared over here. Look, this COVID-19 was a perfect example of us needing to make sure we have a strategy in place. We have a backup plan. We have something lined up for a rainy day. We have something together. And one thing that stood out to me about Abigail was that she was a warrior. She was a warrior. She was a warrior. And then last, Abigail was a wife. Abigail was a wife. She could have easily been like, that ain't my problem. I ain't gonna worry about him. He already crazy. I'm tired of him anyways. This and that and the other. She went straight to wife girl. She didn't hide. She didn't go and act like a little girl. She stood up to the responsibility of her household, because even though her husband, Nabal, was that foolish man, she still knew what her position was as a wife. And sometimes, wife, we have to stand up to things that may not necessarily be our call, may not necessarily be our role. Sometimes we have to do things that, yes, our husbands are supposed to do, but if they're not in position to do it, we need to be the next in line. We need to be next in line. And that's why they tell you in the Bible, and emphasize that, it's not about a man being over his wife or a man being, ahead of his wife. Y'all supposed to be side by side. God took the woman from out of the side of Adam's rib and created her. And so it's not about, one is, mightier than the other. Y'all supposed to be a team. Y'all by each other, right next to each other. So when one is not in position to do a thing, the other's supposed to come right alongside and be like, okay, I'm here to take his position. I'm here to take his place while he's recuperating, while he's in his season of foolery, while he's in his season of, not making wise decisions. I'm here as his wife to step in. And so one of the points I wanted to bring up, after Abigail went to meet David, talked to him, she had the word, she smooth talked to him. She talked to him right on down and said, look, I know you are a great man, this and that. And I know God, has graced you to, not to, comfort us. And I'm going to go ahead and give you a present. And I got all these nice things and stuff for you. And look, David was like overwhelmed with her kindness. David was overwhelmed with her generosity. David was overkind with her kind words, with her welcoming spirit, with, her wisdom that she used. David was over. He was like, you know what? God must really got something planned for you, because I was going to come and kill you, your husband, and everybody else in your house. But because of your words, because how you came to me, I'm going to not come for y'all. I'm not going to come for y'all. And in doing so, she was able to go back to her home. When she came back to her home, that crazy husband of hers was in the house partying, doing stuff, whatever, having a party. He was getting drunk, doing all these kind of things. So she was like, I ain't going to even say nothing to him. I'm going to let him sleep this off. Or I'm going to talk to him about this tomorrow. I'm going to let that be. The next morning came. She mentioned it to him. The old man had a stroke. He ended up having a stroke. And when he had a stroke, he ended up passing a few days later. And so when he ended up passing, David came for Abigail. David was like, listen, I want you to be my wife now. I want you to be my wife. You were so wise with what you did. You were so welcoming. You were so kind. You were so generous. You were so, you was a warrior. You took charge of the situation, and you did it in a submissive attitude. You did it in a submissive way. Listen, spouses, listen, wives. One of the things I want to emphasize to you today is that submission brings recovery. Submission brings recovery. Now, we don't know how long Abigail and Nabal have been doing what they've been doing, living the way they've been living, doing the things they've been doing in this lifestyle. But I'm pretty sure if she was dealing with this fool of a husband, it had probably been something that was straining for her. It probably was something that was overwhelming for her. It probably was something that was a lot for her. And to come to this place of recovery, like she got rescued by the king. She got rescued by the king. Wives, I want to tell you today, you are going to get rescued by the king. You are going to get rescued by the king. Nobody likes the word of submission. Nobody wants the word submission even in around them. But let me tell you, submission is recovery. Submission is glory. Submission is your victory. You are going to be rescued by the king. Hold on, wives.